I want you to try something for me, just for a second. Try to count how many words you've already processed today.
Oh, wow.
Not just spoken words. I'm talking text messages, news headlines, emails, billboards, the label on your shampoo bottle. It's relentless, isn't it?
It is.
We live in this civilization that is just absolutely obsessed with the explicit. We have this, deep-seated belief that for something to be real, it has to be said.
It has to be
It
argued.
has to be argued. It has to be typed out in black and white.
It's the tyranny of the explanation. We've sort of conflated communication with vocabulary. The assumption is, if I want you to understand some complex truth, I need to sit you down and lecture you until you get it.
Which, let's be honest, usually makes people stop listening about 30 seconds in.
Right.
But that brings us to the deep dive for today. We are looking at a source text titled The Silent Speakers. And I have to say, when I first started reading this, I thought it was going to be about, I don't know, monks or mime artists or something. But it's not. It's about a design philosophy.
It is. It's about a group of creators, architects, landscape designers, system builders who have completely abandoned the need for words. Their entire thesis is that truth doesn't need to be confessed. It doesn't need a manifesto. It needs to be constructed.
Constructed truth.
Uh-huh.
That sounds a little, well, it almost sounds Orwellian, doesn't it? Like they're building a reality to control how we think.
I can see why you'd go there, but the source frames it differently. It's not about mind control. It's about bypassing the defensive mechanisms of the intellect. Think about it. When you read an opinion piece, what's your brain doing?
It's arguing. I'm fact-checking. I'm looking for bias. I'm putting up a shield.
Exactly. You are in analysis mode. You are critiquing. But the silent speakers argue that a building, or a specifically designed room, it just bypasses that shield entirely.
How so?
Well, you don't argue with the staircase.
No.
You don't debate the height of a ceiling. You experience it physically. The mission of this deep dive is to figure out how that works, how a physical space can function as a language that speaks directly to your nervous system.
Okay, but let's dig into the how immediately, because I'm a bit skeptical of the woo-woo aspect of this.
Fair enough.
The text says, these designers do not announce themselves and do not admit. That phrasing, do not admit, it really stuck with me. It sounds like they're hiding something. Why the secrecy?
It's not really secrecy. It's more of a strategy.
That's strategy.
Yeah, the source material brings up a really sharp psychological insight here. It says, truth spoken too directly is often rejected.
Okay.
So if you walk into a room and there's a sign that says, be calm or feel insignificant, what is your immediate reaction?
I'd probably laugh. Or I'd feel annoyed that someone is telling me how to feel.
Resistance. Admission creates resistance. If the architect explains what they are doing, you feel manipulated. But if they just do it,
Right.
if they lower the lights and dampen the acoustics, you quiet down. You can't help it. They aren't admitting to the design because they want the truth to be lived into rather than agreed with.
Lived into.
Yeah.
So they're designing for people who refuse to listen.
Essentially, yes. They are designing for the stubborn, for the polarized. For cultures like ours that are resistant to being told what to do, like you can't argue a system into changing, but you can build an environment where the realization feels like it arrives on its own.
That's the trick then. Making me think it was my idea.
Or making you feel the reality of it before your brain even has a chance to reject it.
All right, I want to move this out of the abstract
Sure.
because lived into is a nice phrase, but I want to know what this actually looks like. If I'm walking into a building designed by a silent speaker, what is happening to me?
Okay.
Let's do a sort of virtual tour here. The text breaks down the vocabulary of space. Walk me through that hallway example because that seems so specific.
Okay, so picture this. You leave a busy, chaotic street, all the noise, traffic, just chaos.
Right.
You step into the building, and the first thing you encounter isn't some grand lobby, but a corridor. And it's tight. The walls are slightly closer than you'd expect. The ceiling is low.
So I'm feeling squeezed.
Physically, yes. This is the technique of compression. The source describes hallways that narrow specifically to create tension. Your body reacts to this. Your shoulders might hunch a little. Your spatial awareness kicks into high gear because the boundaries are so close. You are physically constrained.
Okay.
And then the hallway ends. Suddenly, it just opens up into a vast, high-ceilinged room. Light floods in.
And I take a breath.
You have to take a breath. It's biological. That transition from compression to release, it triggers a parasympathetic response. The building just told you to release your burden, and your body obeyed before your mind even registered what happened.
So the low ceiling wasn't just aesthetic. The text mentions ceilings that slow the body. How does a ceiling slow you down?
Think about the difference between a cathedral and, say, a cozy basement.
Sure.
When a ceiling is low, we tend to lower our voices, we walk slower, we feel a sense of, I don't know, weight or shelter. The source says they use this to restore breath. By compressing the vertical space, they force a pause. Then, by lifting it, they invite expansion. They are effectively conducting the rhythm of your breathing.
It's subconscious choreography.
It is. And it continues with the windows. We usually think of windows as just, frames for a view.
Look at that pretty mountain.
Exactly. But the silent speakers use windows to arrest your attention.
Where the eye must pause. That's the quote.
Right. Imagine walking down a long, blank wall, and there is a single vertical slot window that looks out onto nothing spectacular, maybe just the bark of a tree or a specific patch of sky.
It forces you to stop scanning and start focusing.
It breaks the loop. We spend our lives scanning feeds, scanning traffic. A window placed with that kind of precision stops the scan. It creates a hard stop for the eye.
And what about the corners? The text had this line about softened corners so nothing feels attacked. That feels a bit dramatic. Do we really feel attacked by 90-degree angles?
It's deeper in our evolutionary biology than you might think. Sharp protrusions, sharp edges in nature, those are threats.
Right. Thorns or jagged rocks.
Yeah.
Or teeth. Exactly. A sharp corner projecting into a space implies a collision point. It requires you to navigate around it defensively.
To softening the corner.
It signals safety. It tells the reptilian part of your brain, you don't need to guard your flank here. The environment yields to you.
So if we put this all together, the squeeze of the hallway, the release of the room, the rhythm of the ceiling, the soft corners, what is the building actually saying?
It's saying the things we are too busy to say to ourselves. Slow down. Pay attention.
You are safe here.
You are safe here. Something matters here.
Something matters here. That resonates. I feel like so much modern architecture says the opposite. It says, move along, or look at how expensive I am, or...
This is just a container for people.
Exactly. Most modern spaces are transit zones. They're designed to move people through efficiently or to impress them superficially. The silent speakers are trying to anchor you in the moment.
This brings us to the materials, because you can't just do this with drywall and fluorescent lights, apparently.
Yeah.
Section 3 of the source is all about materials, time, and memory.
This is crucial. The text says materials are chosen for memory.
Which, again, sounds poetic. But physically,
Yeah.
how does a rock remember anything?
It doesn't remember a grocery list. It remembers energy. Take stone, for instance. The source highlights stone because it holds temperature.
Thermal mass.
Yes. If you lean against a thick stone wall in the evening, it's still warm from the sun that hit it 5 hours ago.
Right.
It is remembering the afternoon. When you touch it, you are connecting to a timeline that is longer than your immediate moment. It feels solid. It feels like it has gravity.
Versus, say, plastic or aluminum siding.
Which is usually just the temperature of the air. It's reactive, thin. The text contrasts this with wood, specifically wood that ages visibly.
I like that part. Time is part of the design.
We have this obsession with things looking new. If a modern building gets a crack or a stain, it looks ruined.
It looks cheap.
It looks cheap. But if a heavy oak beam cracks or grays,
It looks dignified. It has character.
because it records the passage of time, it shows you that the building has survived. And that gives the occupant a sense of permanence. In a world where everything is digital and fleeting and in the cloud, touching a piece of wood that has been there for 100 years, that grounds you.
There's a line about metal, too. Metal that resonates when touched.
Feedback. It's all about feedback. You touch the world and it vibrates back. It confirms your existence.
The source summarizes this section by saying, in these cities, nothing screams importance. Importance is felt. That's a heavy critique of our current world. We're very loud about what's important.
We use scale and signage to screen importance, giant logos, gold plating, neon. It's insecure.
Yeah?
It's like a person who has to keep telling you they're the boss.
If you have to say it, it's not true.
Precisely. But the silent speakers create importance through weight, through texture, through the persistence of the material. You walk into a space built this way, and you feel in your gut that this matters. No sign required.
Let's pivot to the cure. Because the source makes a pretty bold claim here. It suggests these spaces aren't just nice to look at, they actually change the person inside them.
They describe it as a cure for the modern fragmented mind.
The text lists specific sensations. Attention releases. A thought completes itself. That wouldn't stop me. a thought completes itself.
How often do you actually finish a thought?
Rarely. I mean, usually I get halfway through an idea and then my phone buzzes, or I remember I need to buy milk, or the visual noise of the room distracts me.
Right. We live in a state of cognitive interruption. A coherent space, one with the vocabulary we just discussed, acts like a container. It removes the visual and auditory friction.
Okay.
It allows the neural pathway to actually run its full course.
So clarity isn't something you find, it's something the space allows to happen.
It creates the conditions for clarity.
Then there's a heavier one. A grief settles.
This is a profound function of architecture that we've mostly lost.
But how does a room help you grieve? Grief is internal. It's personal.
Grief is internal, but it needs an external container. If you are grieving in, say, a busy airport terminal, you are fighting the environment. The lights are too bright, the announcements are loud, the energy is frantic. You have to repress the grief just to function.
You hold it in.
But imagine a space designed by a silent speaker, heavy stone walls, shadow, silence, a ceiling that shelters you. The space says, I am strong enough to hold this. You don't have to hold it up anymore. You can let the grief settle into the room.
And yet, and here's where I struggle a bit with the philosophy. The text says, no plaque explains it.
No plaques.
See, I'm the guy who reads every plaque in the museum. I want the context. I want to know, this was built in 1920 by so-and-so.
Right.
The silent speakers seem to think that explaining the space ruins it. Why?
Because explanation shifts you from a participant to an observer. The moment you read a plaque, you are downloading someone else's interpretation. You are thinking about history. You are thinking about dates. You are in your head.
And they want you in your body.
They want the experience to be yours. If you feel a sense of sacredness, they want it to be because you felt it, not because a sign told you this is a sacred space.
The text says, recognition creates belonging.
Yes. If you recognize the truth of a space without being told, you belong to it. It's like a secret handshake between you and the architecture.
So it's healing through alignment, not through information.
Healing is rarely about getting more information. It's almost always about alignment.
This brings us to the final section. Silence as precision. I think we often mistake silence for emptiness or passivity. Oh, they just didn't have anything to say. But the source argues that silence is a form of precision.
It's the precision of avoiding the wrong word.
Speaking too soon hardens meaning. That's the phrase.
It's a beautiful warning. Think about when you try to describe a dream you had. As soon as you put words to it, you ruin it slightly. You simplify it.
We force it into boxes.
You force it into boxes. It was scary. Doesn't quite capture the feeling, but now that I've said scary, that's all it is. Exactly. Words calcify reality. They harden the meaning. By remaining silent, the architecture allows the meaning to remain fluid. It can be what you need it to be in that moment.
The source also connects this to resilience. It says this kind of work survives collapse because it relies on coherence, not belief.
This is the difference between a monument to a dictator and a Roman bath.
Go on.
A monument to a dictator is built on belief. It relies on everyone agreeing that this guy is great. As soon as the regime falls, the belief evaporates, and the statue is just a hunk of ugly metal.
It gets torn down.
It gets torn down. It loses its meaning. But a Roman bath, or the Pantheon, those rely on coherence. They rely on the way light hits a dome. They rely on the acoustics of water against stone. That appeals to human biology, not human ideology.
And biology doesn't change when the government falls.
It doesn't. And so it remains true regardless of the era.
That is the definition of coherence.
It survives because it works. It doesn't need to argue for its existence.
What isn't admitted aloud is admitted through alignment.
It's the ultimate form of confidence. The building trusts you. The text says, they trust that what is true will be found by those ready to feel it.
That requires a lot of patience.
It's an incredibly patient worldview. We live in a world of hot takes and instant feedback. These designers are playing a century-long game. They build the structure, and they wait.
And maybe you don't get it the first time you walk in.
Maybe not. Maybe you're too distracted. But the structure is still there, waiting.
And one day,
maybe when you're grieving, or maybe when you're just ready to slow down, you walk in and click. Alignment.
And in that moment, the text says you stop being an audience. You become a participant.
That's the shift. Audience members are passive. They sit and receive. Participants are active. They inhabit. When you engage with a space like this, you are co-creating the moment, your breath, your movement, your attention. It completes the design.
The final thought in the source material is, for me, the most lingering one. It says the architecture doesn't try to convince you of anything. It remembers.
It remembers what we tend to forget.
What do we forget?
We forget that we are biological creatures. We forget that we need shelter, not just from rain, but from noise. We
Hmm.
forget the dignity of silence. The architecture holds that memory for us.
So by entering it, we are stepping back into that memory.
We are remembering ourselves.
Yeah, that leaves us with a bit of a challenge, doesn't it? Because we can't all go live in ancient temples or perfectly designed minimalist retreats.
Right.
Most of us are living in drywall apartments and working in cubicles.
We are. But once you understand the language, you can start to listen for it. You can look at your own environment with a critical eye.
You can ask, what is this room doing to my nervous system?
Exactly. Is this clutter creating visual noise that stops my thoughts from completing? Is the lighting in my bedroom telling me to wake up when I should be winding down? You can start to curate your own silent speakers.
And maybe, more importantly, we can learn to stop talking so much.
That too. We can learn to trust that we don't always have to explain ourselves to be understood.
So here's the thought to take with you. The next time you walk into a space, whether it's a grand station, a park, or just your own living room, stop looking at your phone.
Please.
Stop thinking about what you're going to say next. Just listen to the space. Feel the weight of the floor. Check your breathing.
Ask yourself what is being communicated without a single word.
And if you listen closely enough, you might find that the room knows more about how you're feeling than you do. The architecture remembers. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
See you next time.